You ever get fired by your own parents? I did. Name's Ryan. I'm 26 now, but this story starts back when I thought my life was finally coming together. I was working at my family's packaging business, thinking maybe, just maybe, I'd earned their trust. Spoiler, I hadn't. My parents had always treated my older brother Daniel like he was some sort of mythological creature sent from the heavens to save the company. Me, I was the weird one. The kid who liked sugar and ovens more than spreadsheets and quarterly projections. You're a man making desserts. That's just pathetic, my dad told me one night, shaking his head in that disappointed dad way only dads seem to master. Look at Daniel. He's already on track to become an executive. You, Ryan, you're embarrassing. Yep, that was my pep talk. I didn't argue. I just looked down at the box of lemon tarts I'd made that day, perfectly golden crusts, buttery soft centers dusted with just the right touch of zest. They didn't even touch them, didn't ask about the recipe, just dismissed it as a hobby gone wrong. Still, I kept showing up. I sat through meetings, drafted boring quotes for candy box suppliers, and tried to smile when people asked if I was Daniel's brother. Then one afternoon, I got called into the conference room. My mom, dad, and brother were all sitting there like it was a boardroom episode of Survivor. Ryan, as of today, we're letting you go, my father said flatly. Just like that. What, are you serious? You're a distraction. Handing out cookies in the office like it's a bake sale. It's unprofessional, my brother chimed in, flipping through a stack of papers like he wasn't delivering a gut punch. I felt the ground disappear under me. My job, my routine, the little crumbs of validation I'd clung to, they vanished in an instant. I walked out in a daze, didn't even take the macarons from my desk. As I was leaving, someone called out to me in the hallway. Hey, Ryan. It was Lana, as in Lana Park, the daughter of Park & Co.'s CEO. Their company supplied luxury chocolates to the biggest hotel chains in the country. We'd been working on a box design for their holiday collection. I heard what happened, she said, eyes steady. It's their loss. I managed a dry laugh. That's one way to look at it. No, I'm serious. You have talent. Real talent. And I hate waste. So how about this come work for me? I'll pay you 5 times your current salary. And you can make sweets without having to apologize for it. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. That moment, that offer. It lit a fuse I didn't even know was there. Part of me thought Lana would forget, that maybe the offer was made in the heat of sympathy and would vanish like everything else that week. But the next morning, I got a contract in my inbox. Real terms, real benefits. My name on the letterhead as confectionery consultant, product experience division. I read it twice just to make sure it wasn't a prank. By Friday, I was walking into Park & Co.'s headquarters in a second-hand suit and nerves jangling like loose change in my chest. The office was sleek, minimal glass wood, and the faint scent of roasted cocoa that hung in the air like perfume. Lana met me in the lobby holding 2 iced coffees and a clipboard. Welcome to the chocolate empire, she said with a smirk. I liked her already. The first week was like stepping into another universe. No passive-aggressive comments, no cold glances across boardroom tables. Just curious stares, polite introductions, and people who actually listened when I spoke. I started slow, sitting in on meetings, analyzing packaging flow, helping the team translate texture descriptions into packaging specs. I figured I'd blend into the background, but Lana had other plans. One afternoon, she pulled me into a tasting room and handed me a fork. Tell me what's wrong with this mousse. I hesitated. It's rich, maybe a bit too sweet for the finish. Her eyebrows lifted. Exactly. We're targeting late evening diners. This needs a lighter end note. She turned to the team and said, from now on, Ryan signs off on final profiles before packaging decisions. Just like that, I had a voice. And weirdly, it felt normal. At night, I'd go home and bake. Not because I had to impress anyone, just because it made me feel grounded. My tiny apartment started smelling like vanilla and burnt butter again, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like a waste of space. But peace doesn't last forever. It started with a call from a mutual friend. Hey, your dad's telling people you stole client secrets, she said, sounding more annoyed than surprised. He's pretty much burning your name in every vendor meeting. I wasn't shocked. My dad never lost quietly. Still, the pettiness hit harder than I expected. I'd left without a scene. I hadn't fought or begged, yet he was still trying to erase me. Lana found me sulking in the test kitchen that evening. "You okay?" I shrugged. "Just the usual. My family thinks making desserts for a living is a moral failure." She leaned against the counter. "Funny. Our best-selling chocolate bar was created by a guy who used to be a circus juggler. Genius doesn't need a suit and tie." That night, she let me take the lead on a prototype an almond sponge layered with espresso cream and dipped in dark chocolate glaze. The next morning, the R&D head said it had depth like a novel. I laughed for the first time in days. Over the next few weeks, things snowballed. I started leading product discussions. Lana introduced me to investors as our secret weapon. A limited batch of cookies I baked during a packaging trial got posted on the company's socials. Comments poured in. "Where can we buy these? Who's the chef behind this magic?" My inbox went wild. Then one Thursday morning, Lana brought in a portfolio of upcoming campaigns. "I want to launch a new sub-brand," she said, eyes sharp. "Something premium, youthful, nostalgic, but modern. And I want you to design it, from flavor to box." My stomach flipped. "Me? You?" She nodded. "I've seen how you think, how you taste. You don't just make desserts. You tell stories with them." No one had ever said something like that to me before. I spent the next month immersed in flour sugar and silent self-doubt. I designed, tested, tweaked, then started over. I cried once over a failed sponge, but I didn't stop. When I finally presented the concept named Glow, I felt like I was handing over a piece of myself. Each dessert was built around a memory: the citrus honey tart from summer camp, the salty caramel fudge that reminded me of sneaking snacks during finals, the vanilla bean mousse shaped like the moon I stared at every night I felt lost. Packaging was minimal. Soft pastels, clean cuts, and poetic labels. Lana listened quietly, then nodded. "It's perfect." Glow launched with a soft rollout at one flagship store. It sold out in 4 hours. The second week, we tripled production. Still sold out. By the third Vogue, Japan ran a spread titled "The Man Who Turns Nostalgia into Dessert." That was the day my brother called. I didn't answer. 3 days after Glow's second press feature, I came home to find a manila envelope wedged in my door. No stamp, just my name scrawled across the front in a handwriting I hadn't seen in years. I didn't have to open it to know it was from my father. I let it sit on the counter for hours unopened. Eventually, curiosity won. Inside were a dozen printed pages, an official notice filled with clipped legalese. "Cease and desist it," said in bold letters. Allegations of trade secret theft. Claimed I had stolen box design concepts, ingredient ratios, even client lists. My stomach churned. It wasn't just petty gossip this time. It was war. Lana stared at the letter in silence when I showed her. "He's trying to burn your name out of spite." "This is personal," she said flatly. "You don't need to fight him. We've got lawyers for this." But I shook my head. It's not just about me anymore. I've got a team, a brand. I can't let him smear it all because his ego took a hit. She didn't argue. She just nodded. We filed a formal response. Our legal team picked the letter apart point by point. Every claim fell flat. No proprietary files, no client lists taken, and every recipe in Glow original, developed in-house. Still, the sting lingered. A week later, I was prepping samples for a major retail pitch when Lana walked into the kitchen with a look that froze me. "Your parents are downstairs," she said carefully. "They didn't call, just showed up." I stopped whisking. My hands didn't move, but my heart did. I hadn't seen them since the day they fired me. I walked into the lobby like I was headed to trial. My mother looked thinner, my father older. Daniel wasn't there. My dad's voice broke the silence first. "Ryan, you've done well." The compliment hit wrong, like bait. "Why are you here?" I asked. My mom stepped forward. "The company's struggling," she said. "We've lost 2 major clients. Cash flow is drying up. There are rumors, and after your brand launched, some of our suppliers started pulling out of contracts." My jaw clenched. You came to blame me for your downfall. No, my father said quickly. We came to ask if you'd come back. The silence that followed was so heavy it felt like gravity had doubled. Come back, I repeated, stunned. After you fired me in front of Daniel? After you told me desserts were an embarrassment? My mother looked away. We were wrong about everything. You built something from nothing. Glow is everywhere. The market respects you now. Now, Lana appeared behind me without a word, standing close enough that I could feel her calm. My father continued, You understand both packaging and sweets. No one else does, not even Daniel. If you could just guide the company, we're willing to offer equity, leadership. I exhaled slowly. You don't want me. You want a lifeline. My mother's eyes shimmered. Ryan, please, it's not just us. Hundreds of employees could lose their jobs if we collapse. That part hit harder than I expected. I knew the staff, knew the janitor who always brought in homemade pickles, the receptionist who complimented my cookies when no one else cared, people who didn't deserve to get caught in my family's mess. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no. I just told them I'd think about it. That night, Lana and I sat in the studio after hours. No words for a long while. Just the hum of the refrigeration units and the soft ticking of the wall clock. Do you want to save them? She asked eventually. I shook my head. I want to save the people, not the pride that got them here. She nodded once. Then maybe it's time you build something bigger, something that protects the good ones. That's when the plan started. We spent 2 weeks in strategy mode, ran numbers, talked to legal, built an offer that wasn't just a rescue, it was a transformation, a merger. Glow would absorb Carter Packaging, keeping the staff, cutting the dead weight, and rebuilding the supply chain under new leadership. Lana backed it with capital. I backed it with vision. And we prepared for the meeting. When I walked into the boardroom at Carter HQ for the first time since being fired, every eye turned to me. Daniel was there, smug, confident. My father sat at the head of the table, my mother next to him. I placed the proposal in front of them. This isn't a plea, it's a purchase. You step down, we take control. You walk away with dignity. The employees stay. The company evolves. Daniel laughed. You think you can run this place better than us? I stared straight at him. I already am. What none of them knew was this: a few months back, I'd been quietly buying company shares, enough to hold leverage. Lana had helped me structure the purchases through a proxy fund. Add that to the employee shares the vendors frustrated with Carter's mismanagement. Suddenly, I had more allies than enemies. My father's hands trembled as he flipped through the proposal. You planned this. I met his eyes. No, you pushed me into it. The day you fired me was the day you made space for something better. Daniel stood. This is ridiculous. You can't just... But he stopped when another door opened and Lana walked in. Calm, professional, but with a presence that silenced the room. She placed a final file on the table. That's our offer. We can close in 10 days, or your creditors will do it for you. Silence. Then slowly, my father nodded. My mother looked like she was about to cry. Daniel sat down without a word. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just said, let's get to work. I didn't sleep the night after the acquisition papers were signed. Not from anxiety, just adrenaline. It's one thing to dream of change. It's another to hold it in your hands. I walked through Carter Packaging's corridors the next morning like a ghost turned solid. Same floors, same smell of ink and cardboard. But this time, people looked me in the eye. Some nodded, others smiled. A few just watched, unsure if I was a threat or a miracle. I didn't blame them. I was neither. Just someone finally standing in the place I'd been denied. Lana and I wasted no time. We held department head meetings. We listened, not just talked. Every concern scribbled in notebooks. Every suggestion acknowledged. We didn't swing an axe. We applied pressure. Targeted, strategic. The dead contracts, inflated vendor deals, the ghost invoices gone within the first week. I kept Daniel out of operations. No drama, just reassignment. He didn't fight. Maybe part of him knew it was time, but it was the small changes that mattered more. We upgraded the break rooms, installed better coffee machines, gave every department a quarterly wellness budget. Not revolutionary, just respectful. I walked the floor daily, checked in with the teams, shared pastries I baked at night. At first, they were hesitant, like kindness had a catch. But gradually, the walls dropped. One machinist pulled me aside after a week and said, first time in 20 years, someone from upstairs asked how my daughter was doing. I nodded and thanked him, but inside that hit harder than any headline. The transition wasn't smooth. We hit bumps. One major client delayed payment. A few senior staff resisted the new processes. But the tide had turned. Momentum was ours. Orders picked up. Media started covering the merger, calling it a visionary pairing of tradition and taste. One article headlined, "The Dessert Boy Who Took the CEO Chair." Lana teased me for days. My parents stayed away. I didn't reach out. I needed time. Not distance, just perspective. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't looking to punish, but I also wasn't rushing to forgive people who had taught me that love was conditional on usefulness. That wounds needed to be earned before they could be acknowledged. It was mid-autumn when something shifted. I came back late from a factory site visit. My hands smelled like varnish and sugar. Lana was waiting at the front desk, coat over her arm. "Walk with me," she asked. We strolled the side streets around the office under gold leaves and quiet sky. She stopped near a bench and sat looking up at the moon. "You know, when I met you, you looked like someone half awake in their own life," she said. "Now you look like someone who finally came home." I didn't answer right away, just watched the streetlight reflect off a puddle near our feet. "It's strange," I said eventually. "Everything I used to beg for from my parents, the approval, the praise, it doesn't mean much anymore. What matters now is making things, leading, building something people can believe in." She turned to me. "That's why I trusted you with this. You lead with care, even after everything." We sat in silence for a while. Not the awkward kind, the comfortable kind. The kind that says everything's understood even if nothing's spoken. When we stood, she brushed her fingers against mine. Brief. Intentional. My chest thudded, but I didn't pull away. The next morning, I walked into the office to find a small box on my desk. No name, just a note for when you're ready to come home, not to the company, but to us. It was from my mother. Inside were 5 cookies. Shortbread, lightly golden, with the same crimped edges she used to make when I was a kid. I hadn't tasted one in over a decade. I didn't eat them. Not yet. Instead, I took them home, placed them on the counter, sat for a long while and let the past breathe without choking me. A week later, we launched a campaign around heritage, highlighting artisans' traditional packaging styles and family recipes passed through generations. I called it Rooted. It was Lana's idea, but it felt like mine too. The feedback was overwhelming. Grandmothers brought in old tins. Kids sent handwritten letters with stories of baking with their parents. One woman emailed us a scanned copy of her father's chocolate truffle notes from 1964. I printed it and pinned it on my wall. The company that once told me desserts weren't serious now had a hallway lined with framed letters from customers who said our products reminded them of being seen, of being safe, of being loved. And then one morning, Lana knocked on my office door. She didn't speak, just stepped aside. My father stood behind her. Not in a suit, no tie, just a windbreaker and eyes that looked smaller than I remembered. I stood. He didn't speak at first. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he said eventually. "Just to say thank you. The company's stable. People are happier. I heard you hired back Margaret from accounting. She cried when I told her." I stayed quiet. "I also came to apologize for the way we treated you, for how blind we were. You didn't fail us. We failed you." The room felt smaller, warmer. I nodded once. Not to forgive, not to forget, just to acknowledge that for once he spoke truth. Before he left, he placed a small photo on my desk. It was old me and Daniel as kids, frosting all over our faces, holding a tray of half-burnt cupcakes. "You made those," he said. "We just never knew they were more than sugar to you." After he was gone, I looked at the picture for a long time, and I finally smiled. I didn't bring up the visit from my father for days, not with Lana, not even with myself. It sat in my memory like one of those tea bags you leave in water a little too long, dark, bittersweet, but warming in its own quiet way. I still hadn't touched the shortbread cookies my mom left, but I moved them from the counter to a sealed tin. That felt like something. Back at work, the energy was shifting. Not the loud kind of shift. No party streamers or press releases, just a sense that people walked a little taller, smiled a little more. Teams began collaborating without needing prompts. The warehouse staff started their own rotation to distribute leftover product batches to local shelters. Someone from R&D launched an internal newsletter called Crumbs, where they shared weekly behind-the-scenes shots of new projects and the faces behind them. One entry featured a close-up of me covered in flour with the caption, "CEO or Culinary Madman." It got more likes than any of our formal announcements. I didn't mind. I'd rather be loved in laughter than feared in silence. Lana had moved her office next to mine by then. Said it was for synergy, but we both knew better. We worked late together more often. Reviewed tasting notes side by side. She had a habit of humming when she was deep in thought, soft, almost imperceptible. I caught myself waiting for it. On one of those evenings, after finalizing the blueprint for our holiday product line, she stayed behind while I cleaned up the tasting trays. "You know," she said, folding her arms on the table, "I always thought leadership looked like command and force. But watching you, it's like you run the whole place with memory and heart. You don't chase power, you restore things." I turned to face her, not sure how to respond. I don't know if I ever wanted power. I just didn't want to feel invisible anymore. She nodded slowly. "Then after a beat, I'm glad I found you. Or maybe that you found yourself in front of me." We sat in that silence for a long while. Her hand found mine across the table. No grand declarations, no orchestral music, just a gentle meeting of fingers and shared understanding that something had shifted quietly but permanently. That weekend, we visited a small pastry market outside the city. Not as research, not for networking, just because we could. Lana wore a soft scarf and minimal makeup. I left my phone in the car. We strolled through rows of booths selling hand-piped eclairs, fragrant teas, and candies wrapped in old newspaper. One stall had a sign that read "Flavors that Remember." I stood in front of it longer than I meant to. Later, over coffee at a tiny corner cafe, she asked, "What would you name your next brand if you had total freedom?" I didn't even hesitate. "Kindred." She smiled. "Then let's make that real." So we did. Over the next 3 months, we quietly developed the new line. Kindred would be different. Not just premium, personal. Every product would be tied to a story, real moments from real people. A widow's raspberry tart that reminded her of Paris mornings. A teacher's cinnamon squares inspired by the snack her mother used to sneak into her lunchbox. I spent hours talking to our community, collecting fragments of memory and baking them into form. Kindred's packaging was soft, biodegradable, wrapped in notes from the people who inspired the flavors. Lana designed the fonts herself, hand-lettered with slight imperfections. No two labels were quite the same. We launched it without fanfare. No media blitz, just a handwritten letter posted online signed by both of us. To the ones who know that sweetness isn't always loud. This is for you. It sold out in 72 hours. The messages started pouring in. Emails, DMs, handwritten letters. One man wrote, "I haven't cried over dessert since I was 8. Your almond cardamom cookie did it." Another said, "It reminded me of my grandmother's kitchen." I hadn't remembered the smell until now. But the one that made me stop was from my mother. Just 2 lines. "Your shortbread tasted softer than mine ever did. I think I know why now." I sat with that note for a long time. Then I opened the tin of cookies she'd left. They were dry now, but I broke one in half and tasted it anyway. It wasn't bad. It wasn't brilliant. It just was, and somehow that felt like enough. A week later, Daniel stopped by the office unannounced. He looked different, less polished, more real. "I'm not here to ask for a role," he said quickly. "Just wanted to tell you something." I leaned back in my chair waiting. "I used to think you were playing at this. Like sweets were some way to escape responsibility. But I get it now. You weren't escaping. You were building something we never could. And you built it out of love." He pulled a small box from his bag. Inside were 2 macarons. Light blue, my signature flavor. "I made these," he said. "Tried your old university recipe." I took one, bit into it. It wasn't perfect, but it was close. I looked at him. "You want feedback?" He grinned. "Only if it comes with coffee." So we sat, 2 brothers, not fixing everything, but starting somewhere. Spring arrived slowly that year, the kind of gentle season that doesn't rush to impress anyone. The trees bloomed a little late. The sun was soft, not bold. And somehow it felt right. Kindred had stabilized into a rhythm: weekly stories, seasonal drops, repeat customers who wrote us like we were family. Lana and I took turns answering those messages. We kept them pinned on the wall behind our shared desk. Sometimes we read them aloud when the office got quiet. They reminded us why we started. By then, the transition with Carter Packaging was complete. The company had a new name, Carter & Kindred, with a logo drawn by one of the warehouse staff's teenage sons. We didn't change it. It was imperfect, hand-sketched, and full of character, just like the place we wanted to build. My parents had stepped back quietly, no press, no drama. They moved to a smaller home near the coast. My mother sent occasional notes. My father never did. But I heard through the staff that he smiled when he saw our features in the paper. That was enough. One Saturday morning, Lana and I drove out to a local school for a community baking workshop we'd sponsored. The gym smelled like cinnamon and melted butter. Little kids lined up at tables smearing icing with reckless joy. Their laughter echoed off the walls. One girl, no older than 7, handed me a heart-shaped cookie and said I made it with love. "That's the secret, right?" I nodded and told her she already knew more than most professionals. On the drive back, Lana turned to me, her voice light. "You ever think about what's next?" I looked out the window, watching the fields blur. "I think about staying, about doing more of this, but slower. Not everything has to grow fast to be worth it." She smiled. "Good, because I don't want this to be a phase. I want it to be a life." Later that evening, we returned to the office to pick up something she'd forgotten. The building was dark, except for the light above our door. When we walked in, a surprise waited. Our team had left a note and a small cake on the table. It said, "For everything you've done and everything you've restored. Thank you." The cake was simple. Vanilla bean with a hint of lemon, my original recipe. I stood there, hand resting on Lana's shoulder, and something settled deep inside me. Not pride, not even joy, just peace. That night, we sat on the office rooftop under a sky full of stars. No noise, no rush, just the city breathing quietly beneath us. "Do you remember," Lana said softly, "when you thought you were a failure because you made sweets?" I nodded. I remember thinking success had to look like something else. A title, a corner office, my father's approval. She leaned her head against my shoulder. "But you built something better. You built a place where people feel seen." I thought about that. About the cookies on the counter, the laughter in the workshop, the customers who found lost memories in a single bite. And then I said it, not as a confession, not as a declaration, just as truth. "I think this is who I was always meant to be." She smiled, quiet and warm, I know. In the months that followed, we expanded Kindred into a foundation funding culinary scholarships for underrepresented students, hosting wellness days for caregivers, building school kitchens in rural areas. It wasn't about fame. It was about feeding more than hunger, about restoring more than taste. One evening, as we wrapped up the day, Daniel stopped by again. He helped us carry boxes for a local event. We didn't talk much, but before he left, he paused. "Hey," he said, You remember that one summer I made fun of your macarons? I nodded. Well, I tried your new fig and honey ones, and I hate how much I liked them. I laughed. I'll take that as progress. Later, I found a note on my desk. From him. 4 words. Proud of you. Finally. I tucked it away not for the praise, but because it meant he had changed. And maybe we all had. The final shift came quietly. One morning, I got to the office early. Lana was already there sipping tea, barefoot hair still damp from the shower. She looked at me and said, without hesitation, "Let's buy a cottage. Something old, with a kitchen that needs love, a garden, maybe even chickens." I blinked, then smiled. Yeah, let's do that. We found one a month later, stone walls, sloped roof, overgrown yard. It didn't look like much. But when I walked into the kitchen, I could already smell the future. Years from now, someone might ask how it all happened. How a forgotten son rebuilt a company, found love, and turned a childhood obsession into a legacy. I'll probably just say this. It wasn't about revenge, or even proving anyone wrong. It was about remembering that the things we are told are weaknesses can become our greatest gifts if we dare to stay with them long enough. Making sweets wasn't just a passion. It was my way of healing the world one story at a time. And in the end, that was more than enough. Story 2. My phone buzzed at 2:10 in the morning. My father texted, "Your automobile was sold. You're not worthy of it. Even at 25, you continue to work nights. Get a life. This family is embarrassed by you." Then came after. "For your sister's wedding, we obtained a credit card under your name. $27,500 is the upper limit. I've already maxed it. Don't destroy her future the way you destroyed yours." I simply grinned. Drove home. A little black envelope was left in the mailbox. Only a flash drive with the label "Play Me Loud" on it. They did this morning. My parents will not stop yelling now. Express our regret to him. Call him home. Request that he respond. God, please. Make him respond, please. They don't know. This was only the teaser. The actual performance has not yet begun. Not only that, but they haven't even seen what I have planned for Christmas. This may sound phony, but I can assure you that it isn't on my left sock drawer. To be honest, I could care less who believes me. I'm partly running on Red Bull and spite, and my hands are still unsteady, so I just need to dump this. In any case, whatever remains of my patience. It is approximately 2 to 10 a.m. and I'm in my house. Yes, I am aware that I should be sleeping, but right now my schedule is completely messed up. I kind of end up browsing and trying not to think about how I'm 25 years old and still eating cold noodles and living in a shoebox. My parents and I haven't spoken in a few weeks. Not since the last time they summoned me to assist Lucy with her wedding-related tasks and completely disregarded me. My phone buzzes. Is that correct? I initially chose to ignore it because really, who would text at 2 in the morning, unless it's a fraud or someone who's intoxicated? However, it turns out to be my dad, who never texts unless it's anything negative. Opening it makes me wish I was making this up, I promise. It simply states, "We sold your car. You're not worthy of it. Even at 25, you continue to work nights. Get a life. This family is embarrassed by you." I just stare at it, not sure what to make of it. I was expecting him to make a joke or something, but then he sent me another text. "For your sister's wedding, we obtained a credit card under your name. Limit of $27,000 to $500. I've already maxed it. Don't destroy her future the way you destroyed yours." It's so on brand for them that I genuinely laughed, not because it's hilarious. Now it's practically a parody. For background, my parents, Jack and Phyllis, have always maintained the belief that Lucy is impervious to harm and that I am only their fallback option. For example, if Lucy is busy and something has to be done, Wayne, why don't you do it? A new phone is given to Lucy. I receive her old one. I am just instructed to attend Lucy's wedding without embarrassing anyone because it is such a big affair. Not even pretending to be malevolent. Just, I'm not what they were looking for. And I'm aware that some people may ask, why don't you just leave? However, if someone texts you every time anything breaks or feels the need to guilt trip you for not being a true guy, you should try cutting off all communication. Yes, I am furious, but largely I feel this strange clarity. This was blatantly disrespectful, even though I always understood that they didn't genuinely appreciate me. To be honest, I have no idea how they sold the car. Since I was already running late for a friend's event and Lucy mentioned that she wanted the driveway for her wedding committee or something, I left it at their house last weekend. I imagine they simply thought it was theirs to get rid of, even though it was supposed to be safe. Traditional. They don't think I'll accomplish anything, so I'm sitting there now just plucking at the edge of my desk. The dynamic has always been that way, isn't it? They walk all over me, push, and I accept it. I remain silent. Lucy starts crying, and all of a sudden I'm the bad guy for causing awkwardness. This time, however, I simply stood up, picked up my backpack, and began going through my old tech. I came across this tiny black flash drive that I had acquired from a promotional event long ago. I plugged it in. I wiped it and began using my phone to record a voice memo. I started talking like I was talking about everything, not even shouting, simply moving through with composure, each and every time they have engaged in such behavior. For example, when Lucy wrecked my old bike and I had to apologize to her, or when they forgot my birthday and simply gave me a gift card they found in the junk drawer, or how Lucy was permitted to use my room as her workspace. She instructed me to sleep on the couch since you're hardly home anyhow when she started organizing the wedding. Every time they made it obvious that I was only an afterthought, I simply continued listing. This isn't a threat, I added. It's a pledge. Do you wish to engage in some gaming? I am no longer your pawn. Do you really believe I'll just eat whatever you want? Yes? This is going to stick in your memory. That's where I stopped it. The file was copied to the flash memory. Play Me Loud is the label. It was placed in a simple black envelope that I discovered in my junk drawer. To be honest, writing their address on it was somewhat pleasant. Not a note, nothing. Only the drive. I had to use the rideshare app, so I drove over there at around 3:30 a.m., which is a whole other issue. Isn't the car gone? The driver gave me a look as if I were about to plunder the establishment. The envelope was simply placed in their mailbox. Waited for the motorist to circle back around before continuing on down the street. It's a little neighborhood, really. The entire time, everyone is quite nosy. I'm simply going over everything they've taken, but I don't feel depressed anymore. I'm just angry. As in, they're actually eager to see what happens when they lose control of the story. When I return home the following morning, my phone suddenly starts exploding with missed calls, messages, and messages from Lucy, my parents, and even unidentified relatives. I see my mom's preview of one, but I don't even look at half of them. Express our regret to him. Call him home. Request that he respond. God, please. Make him respond, please. I can see she's panicking since the caps lock is on. Then Lucy sends me a text. It's all fair. What did you do? Why are Dad and Mom so upset? Everything is being ruined by you. Please repair this for me. I simply read it and leave it on. They are now phoning everyone, including the neighbors. I suppose my mother walked outside yelling, which makes sense, and now I'm sitting here eating leftover pizza, staring at my phone, and trying to decide whether or not I really care what happens to the wedding. The most outrageous aspect is that this is only the trailer. They don't know what's really going to happen. I'm not finished yet. I've prepared some Christmas-related items that would make them wish they had never heard my name jingle. It is rather satisfying to be in control of the cards at last. I'm too kind and too meek, everyone says. In any case, not now. They wanted me to be the bad guy. All right, we'll see how they feel about it, if you have reached this point. Yes, I'm angry. However, I'm not seeking pity. Simply wait to see what occurs next. One update. Okay, so I didn't anticipate blogging again so quickly, but the level of chaos that followed that flash drive is beyond your comprehension. I assumed they would simply shout and possibly ban me for a week or so. Not at all. Everyone is exhausted, irritated, and unable to use group messaging. It's been like a reality show. I simply put my phone on silent for a while after my last post. Eventually, I assumed they will become tired and move on, or perhaps find someone else to blame. I was mistaken. The first strange text I received was from Aunt Sharon. She doesn't text. She's one of those people who just post prayer requests and Minions memes on Facebook. "Your mom called me at 6 in the morning," she says. "What's happening?" Lucy is crying once more, and your dad is not responding to anyone. I simply let her read. Not my monkeys, not my circus. In any case, there is turmoil when I check my family group chat later. As if to call forth a devil, Phyllis is writing in all caps. Jack leaves a voicemail. Not a chance. That is what I am listening to. Lucy is always berating me for ruining her special day. And since family comes first, I should take care of this. Furthermore, this cannot be excused. Lucy, classic. To be honest, I briefly felt sorry for you. Nearly. However, I became irritated once again when I recalled Jack's text on the car in the card. This is where things really started to get crazy. It turns out that the credit card was refused, so the wedding vendors began destroying my parents' phone. Someone who has always been a bit too curious for his own good is my Uncle Daniel. I called my mother to check in after hearing shouting coming from the house. It seems that she bit his head off, told him not to get involved, slammed the phone. He contacted my phone right away and left a voicemail. "Just say so, if this is about money," he texted. "I'll speak with Jack." I don't respond. Lucy, my former neighbor, by lunchtime. Not my sister, not the same Lucy. It's confusing, I know. Send me a text message asking how I'm doing. Your mother has been shouting at the postal carrier outside. Then she slammed the door so forcefully that my window shook. LOL. I suppose she was triggered by the mailbox. In any case, she reports that people are coming and going and that there are automobiles parked outside. Apparently, the residence has turned into the headquarters for family strife. Family members are currently fighting on the group chat. Where did the wedding funds go? Sharon asks Daniel, adds that Jack should speak with his son. Phyllis is constantly uploading emojis with angry faces. I turn off the conversation. My sister Lucy begins bombarding my phone with these paragraphs about guilt trips. It's everything. My life is being ruined by you. It's unbelievable that you do this. I feel very ashamed. My pals want to know why the cake shop claims we haven't made the payment. I will never forgive you if you don't call Dad and make things right. She adds that I'm always envious of her since she always did everything correctly, and I understand why she's upset. She has always been told that if she wants something badly enough, someone will get it done, typically me. I suppose you begin to believe you have a right to it when you grow up with everyone taking care of you. Additionally, I'm no longer her emotional target. I send my cousin Chris a screenshot of the texts. The only family member that sort of understands it is him. He's been on the edge of things throughout his life. He simply responds with a meme of a puppet monkey glancing back and forth. Chris classic. Then this girl who was once in Lucy's buddy circle DMs me on Instagram. Is it true that your parents maxed out a credit card in your name? She asks. Lucy has been accusing you of ruining the wedding, tearing apart, and blaming you for it. Although I don't answer, I begin to see that Lucy is making this up for everyone she knows. That's her defense, I suppose. Perhaps no one will notice if she cries loud enough. She's standing atop my belongings. My mother begins sending me lengthy apologies texts in the interim. However, they're not. Sorry, we seem to be sad that you feel that way. And our main goal was to assist Lucy. Enjoy your day. You already know that you're not good with money. She says that Grandma is concerned about me at one point in an attempt to entice me to come over. Not shocking, but low blow. I disregard her. I won't allow them to perform the same play once more. They always try to minimize me and blame me whenever I show up. My dad eventually tries to call me the next day. When I don't answer, he leaves a message in which he tries to appear rational while also yelling, as if we fulfilled our obligations. The car wasn't being used by you. You don't require a lot of credit. More significant is Lucy's wedding. When you're older or eventually mature, you'll comprehend. Without saying goodbye, he hangs up. I give Chris the voicemail. He simply responds, "Oh no." Then nothing else. Traditional. This is where I begin to resist. You should ask Jack what happened to the money. I messaged Uncle Daniel. No specifics. That's all. Daniel gives my mother a call 2 hours later. Evidently, it becomes so heated that my mother throws something at the wall and hangs up. Later, Lucy texts me to tell me that Mom lost it. Many thanks. People are now asking inquiries in the family group chat. Half of them blame Jack and Phyllis, while the other half blame me. Facebook posts from my extended family begin to appear. These are all ambiguous. Family members will disappoint you, and some people don't value what they have. Status updates. Since none of them even realize how deep this goes, it's actually kind of funny. The best thing is that the wedding vendors are becoming anxious because the credit cards are maxed out. There is currently a lot of side drama when one of them reportedly called Lucy's fiancé's parents. How could I do this? Lucy's fiancé is texting me in all caps. Lucy's life is being ruined by me. I should mend it like a guy. I silence him. Lucy visits my apartment at one point. I had no idea that she was aware of my residence. I need to come out and chat. She's shouting through the hallway as she bangs on my door. She tries to push by me when I open the door. I retaliate, keeping her in the corridor. She's crying, smearing mascara, and ranting about how I've always been selfish. How she only wants one pleasant thing. Everyone is now making fun of her. You made your bed, I remind her. In it, you lie. She gives me a slap. In her face, I closed the door. She stomps off after standing there for a minute or so. I then begin receiving calls from unknown numbers. My parents most likely use other people's phones. All of them are blocked by me. My cousin Chris texts me the following day. The family meal has been canceled. LOL. My parents are currently essentially living in social exile. Their pals are inquiring. There is gossiping among neighbors. The family drama is the subject of speculation by all. My Aunt Sharon texts me to let me know that Grandma wants to know how I'm doing. She is concerned that I simply replied to her text. Let's just say that I'm all right. I'm not feeling philanthropic after years of this behavior, even though I know some people may think I'm being harsh. My boundaries were never honored by them. Never showed me respect as a human being. Just in case their golden child needs a backup plan. They're finally experiencing what it's like when I stop attending the crazy parties. Not even everyone is aware of what I have planned for Christmas. The actual spectacle begins at that point. Thus, the breakdown is still taking place. As I eat takeout and make arrangements, I'm just relaxing and letting the group chat take over. I'm not finished yet. Not even close. Wait if you think this was a mess. The second update. After Lucy bounded out of my flat and Phyllis launched her Worried Mother campaign, I reasoned that perhaps things would calm down for a while. Not even close, no. If anything, someone seems to find a new method to add chaos to this situation every day. My parents have changed strategies, which is the first thing I've noticed. Jack now acts like the bigger man and texts, "Let's be reasonable." He now leaves brief voicemails stating things like, "Let's work this out and don't do anything drastic," without actually yelling. It's a bit late for that. Lucy is going crazy on social media in the meanwhile. She seems to be trying to recreate the story for everyone who hears it, because I keep getting tagged in old photos with strange captions. All of her pals are praying and leaving comments along the lines of, "OMG, I can't believe people can be so selfish. You're worthy of better." A classic move. She's always been adept at making herself the center of attention, to be honest. It doesn't even make me angry. Right now, it's just funny. With the exception of one odd chat app that I never use, she blacklisted me elsewhere, so I just silence it. My cousin Chris occasionally sends me screenshots, mostly for amusement. He enjoys seeing people lose it, but he's not really picking sides. This is where things become fascinating, though. Something from when I was still living at home came back to me. For a rainy day, Jack always kept emergency funds stashed away in the garage's old toolbox. I kept its location a secret from Phyllis. Acted as though it were a top secret. Do you know who has been secretly paying off wedding deposits with that, "Yes, I still have the garage door code, therefore I was able to find out"? I never altered it, haha. When no one was home, they headed over there. Nothing was taken. I just crossed it off. The cash remained. No, it wasn't. I begin searching and discover an envelope with withdrawal receipts in a rubbish drawer. For months, guess who has been taking advantage of the rainy day? I therefore give Daniel an anonymous tip. Uncle, you ought to question Jack about the cash and the wedding funds, not signed, simply dropped off in his mailbox. Daniel automatically turns to Phyllis since he constantly suspects Jack of hiding something. All of a sudden, family members are fighting about who should pay what. To whom was it lied? The two of them are seldom speaking anymore. Chris tells me this because Daniel keeps calling him to rant. Vendors then begin threatening to terminate agreements. Lucy's fiance's mother texts me. "Don't ask how she got my number," she said, implying that you must take action. "You are to blame for this. We are quite dissatisfied. I simply block her." Lucy is now pleading with people for money or understanding in the wedding group chat, which I honestly forgot I was in. I depart from the group. Lucy attempted to launch a GoFundMe, according to Chris. I did, but no one gave money. Then comes the actual blow. On their company page, one of the merchants makes a vague remark about untrustworthy families and unfulfilled promises. Phyllis loses it. She gives me a call and leaves a message, declaring, "I have to fix this now or there will be consequences," while crying. I don't answer. Jack attempts a different strategy. He arrives at my apartment and knocks on the door as if he were simply stopping by to talk. I crack it open. He makes an effort to push past me. I use my foot to block the door. He's whispering about how selfish I am, how I owe the family, and how I wouldn't be where I am now without them. I tell him to go. Infuriated, he pushes the door. I force it back. After shouting for a while, he stomps away. A little later, Phyllis texts me. "This family is being torn apart by you. This is something you'll regret. We are your parents. You can't just treat us like this." Her ability to make anything into a guilt trip has always been strong. However, I am no longer 12. I simply remove it. The consequences are becoming more severe than I anticipated. Now people are taking sides. Half of the cousins are refusing to attend the family meeting that Sharon Aunt has called. Lucy is currently DMing everyone I've ever met to let them know I'm unstable and in need of assistance. In any case, let her speak. A man who used to work with Jack then DMs me to ask what's going on, claiming that Jack has been behaving strangely and yelling at people. I simply suggest that he might want to concentrate on his personal issues. I'm left on read by him. Grandma is also drawn in. She gives me a call, for the first time in months. I'm not sure what's going on, but I hope you all figure it out. "Grandma, this isn't my mess to clean up," I tell her. With a groan, she ends the call. That one makes me feel a little guilty. I won't lie. Lucy's wedding is essentially doomed by this time. Vendors are not being paid. Lucy's fiancé is suddenly needing some time to reflect, and half of the guests are withdrawing. Chris informs me that he and his folks are requesting my receipts. I suppose they're concerned about all the money they wasted. Jack and Phyllis try to arrange a face-to-face meeting. I decline. Chris is sent to speak with me as if he were the peacekeeper. He arrives with coffee, settles down on my couch, and leaves. Man, I have no idea whose side I'm on. You don't need to choose sides, I tell him. Don't interfere, though. He takes a sip of his coffee, nods, and walks away. Not a drama. Simply exhausted. Lucy's reappearance is the final thing to mention. She's not even acting this time. In the corridor, she is yelling at me to repair this. She tries to strike me in the chest with her strokes. I shove her back and block her arm. She's crying. They call me a monster. She expresses her desire that I never existed. I remain silent, shut the door. After standing there for a time, she walks away. I'm simply watching it all burn from the sidelines right now. Jack and Phyllis are losing their pals. Family members are furious. Lucy is on the verge of losing her wedding, and her fiancé, perhaps. Even though they're all pointing the finger at me, I'm not sleeping because of it. They were themselves. When people don't receive what they want, it's amazing how quickly they may change their ways. As I wait for everyone to run out of steam, I'm just keeping my head down and eating cheap takeout. However, as I already stated, I'm not finished. All of this will seem like a warm-up for something spectacular I have planned for Christmas. So I suppose you could say that things are finally getting better. Keep an eye out. The last update. Christmas has here, so I suppose this is it. To be honest, the lead-up was really strange. Everyone was acting like that. The previous few months didn't occur. A week prior to the holidays, Phyllis texted me to inquire if I would be returning home, as if we were a typical comedy family. To be honest, it's a blessing that Jack has been quite quiet. Lucy shared a number of old family pictures on social media. Every one of those old Christmas mornings when I'm carrying a donated sweater partially out of frame. To be honest, I nearly skipped the entire thing. But no, I'm not going to bluff. I promised to make Christmas meaningful. So I arrive. I reasoned that they would simply use it as more ammunition if I skipped. In addition, I had to see their faces. With the exception of the roadways being empty and the lighting being a bit dreary, the house appears to be precisely the same. Take my automobile. When I initially go in, no one even looks at me. I was just babbling in an odd way. Phyllis tries to embrace me. I push her arm away and take a step back. She conducts the act of acting as though she is unaware. Jack appears bored as he browses through his phone at the table. Lucy helps out in the kitchen, although she usually complains that she can't find the nice plates. In prison, she most likely broke them. It's just tense when I sit down. No one discusses the wedding, the automobile, or the money. Everything is tiny. Talk like your grandmother. How excessively the neighbor's dog barks. I briefly question whether they will truly survive the entire day without a blowout. After supper, though, I know these folks too well. Turkey made of cardboard and lumpy potatoes. No one is speaking. I took my luggage out. "Did I bring gifts?" asks Phyllis. I just give her a box without saying anything. There's another small black packet when she opens it, the same fashion as before. Lucy gives an eye roll. Jack simply lets out a sigh. I advise them not to open it in the kitchen because it's for everyone. Grandma is among those who shuffle into the living room. There is a flash drive with the name "Play Me Loud" inside the packaging. Lucy takes it and plugs it into the TV as Phyllis treats it like a snake. I nearly feel bad about this for a moment, but then I see Jack's face and remember all the times he labeled me a disappointment. A slideshow opens the drive. Just a series of screenshots, nothing special. Jack texted. Phyllis's voicemails. They made it clear to me how little I meant in all those little times. Jack's statement that you're not using the car. It is not necessary for you. What matters more is Lucy's day. Phyllis sobbed as she explained how I should resolve this. Since I am to blame. Lucy told me via text that I had destroyed her life, that I was constantly envious. Even some old group chat messages where they blamed me for not showing up after making arrangements but forgetting to invite me. After that, audio is played. I cut a number of the worst things together. Jack is complaining that I'm lazy. Wayne simply lacks what Lucy has, Phyllis whispered to a friend. He didn't. Lucy boasted to her pals that she could ask her parents for anything she wanted. Phyllis even advised Grandma not to bring up my employment at Thanksgiving because it makes Lucy uncomfortable. No one speaks. Jack is merely gazing at the ground. Phyllis is holding on to her cup as if she were going to smash it. Lucy has a flaming red face. Grandma blinks frequently. This is how you treat people when you believe no one is looking. It cuts to me, and I'm the only one speaking. When you just care about one person, family looks like this. I'm tired of being silent, even if you wanted me to vanish. Happy Christmas! It's dead in the room. Quiet. Something about airing dirty laundry is mumbled by Jack. At last, Phyllis loses it and accuses me of being heartless for spoiling the holiday. On her way to the hallway, Lucy tries to push past me. She is blocked by me. She gives me an arm slap. I stay put. The bathroom slams. Grandma says, "I can't believe what I just heard," as she slowly gets to her feet. Without a single glance at anyone, she walks out on Sharon and immediately follows her. I have no idea what true family means, Jack yells. Charges into the opposite chamber. The photos tremble as the door smashes so forcefully. Phyllis just sits there and looks at me. "Why would you do this to us?" she asks at the end. "You caused this on yourselves," I tell her as I gaze at her. She bursts into tears. I get up, pick up my luggage, and head out. Outside, snow is falling. I simply phone for a ride and stroll to the street. Don't turn around. My phone is constantly buzzing. Lucy texted. Phyllis missed calls. Jack even makes one final attempt before I permanently block his number. That's it then. Not a big budget film finale. Nothing is fixed. Nice. They will have to accept the consequences of their actions. Now everyone else is aware as well. I am not their fallback option. Their scapegoat is not me. Furthermore, I will not be returning for a second round. I'm not sure what to say if you're reading this and feel that it's too harsh. You have to turn up the volume all the way for certain individuals to learn. I'm just happy that I did at last. Merry Christmas too.